In this squeeze page treasure video, we're going to be looking at the purpose of a squeeze page and do you actually have a plan. First off, we're going to get the definition from Wikipedia, and they tell us that a squeeze page are a landing page created to solicit opt-in email addresses from prospective subscribers. In other words, the whole point here is that the page has its own purpose, and that is of getting the lead, adding someone to your sales funnel process, the beginning, if you like, of the marketing cycle. You can use a squeeze page as what's called a stay or go page, which means the person has to take action to move forward, or they can decide to abandon and leave your site. You don't have to combine this with an autoresponder to actually grab the lead. You could just be making it an action where someone moves forward, but it makes total business sense to capture leads here whenever you're given the opportunity. You want to start building that list, and a squeeze page is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. In other words, you're going to solicit the opt-in of an email address, and in return for that you're going to give somebody something that they want. Now we'll look at that a little bit more later in the series when we come to emotional triggers, but the whole idea is a transaction is taking place here between you and your site visitor. You want them to give you their name, their email address, or at the very minimum their email address, and in return they're going to get something that's of benefit to them, so they don't mind taking part in that transaction. So as we said, it's an incentivized action process. And what we mean by that is you're giving them something in return for them giving you something. It is a transaction that's taking place here. But you want to incentivize that person in a way for them to actually opt in. This is where it comes to about you having a plan of your business. If you don't know your market, then how are you going to know how best to incentivize them? There's no point in going after a market where you're going to give them a free report on the latest diet patch if they've actually come to your site and looking to learn how to build muscle. They're not going to be incentivized to take the action step. Now, first thought might be that the markets cross over, and perhaps they do in certain ways. People might want to lose weight and build muscle, so there is certain incentives that you could use that are similar. But offering someone a diet patch isn't going to be a way for them to build muscle. So you need to know your market and your subscriber base before you start putting anything on a page that you're willing to give them in return for their opt-in. The thing here is a squeeze page has a very dedicated purpose. There's no external linking going on here, or there shouldn't be. What you shouldn't have on a squeeze page is other places people can click to go to, that you might be recommending other products, or you might be linking to other information. Like, for example, let's say you wanted to link to a definition on Wikipedia. You wouldn't usually put that on your squeeze page, because if you do, you've got ways of leaking content. People will come to your site, but there's another way for them to exit and leave. The only time you may do this is if you're actually starting to stretch out the page and it's more of an informative page. In this case, it's not really defined as a total squeeze page in its own right. The only external links you may have on your site is if they are internal external links. So they're actually going off that main page, but they'll probably open a separate window, so they'll always come back to the squeeze page. And they might be providing information such as your terms, your privacy and use policies, your customer support contact information. These things are really appreciated by the search engines, and again we'll look at that in more depth in later videos, but that would be the actual limit that you would normally have when it comes to adding any links to your squeeze page. The designs that you can have, squeeze pages have really come a long way, and we'll look at some actual squeeze page designs later when we look at layouts. But squeeze pages can be as simple as a few bits of information on a page with an opt-in box, or they can be as elaborate as having video, audio, emotional time triggers, restrictive orders, limited options. There are so many different combinations you can include, and these will be very dependent upon the market niche that you're actually approaching. Age groups, all the demographics, locations, everything you can think of can play its part in what you can and cannot include, or would and would not include on your squeeze page setup. Understanding though that the basic purpose of a squeeze page is to solicit that opt-in email address, learn that, and you've made big steps forward. The whole point of it here is to actually start building a list for you, because you want to develop a relationship with the person who's come to your site. It is very rare that someone will just turn up at your site without being referred by someone they actually know, like and trust already, or without having some kind of recommendation and then making a purchase. If they arrive to your site cold, even from just a basic ad, if you don't actually have a good sales offer there, it's unlikely people will actually purchase from you on the very first time of asking. They normally like to dig around a bit more. Or if it's a situation which is back to the emotional triggers we'll look at later, if they're really desperate, you might, if you've got good quality sales copy and you've got good quality looking site and potential product, you may well convert sales on the very first attempt. But again, it's always better to try and build that list right from the get-go, because you've always then got the opportunity to communicate with that person further down the line, rather than they arrived at your site, took no action, or if they just arrived at your site and then left, you've lost the potential of contact later on, and someone else will pick them up further down the line. So take the good opportunity of using your squeeze pages to build your list, and then develop the relationship with your customer from there.